open commerce and take us into a 3-minute recess. And then boom again. All right, I'm going to call us out of recess. And I would entertain a motion to go into executive session if there is one. So moved. Do we have a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, great. So I think our able aide, Mr. Jones, sent everyone a list of bills that we were going to exec this morning. And we'll just go through them in order as they're listed on the sheet that he provided. And we'll start with House Bill 225. And as a reminder, that's an act relative to the employment of military spouses in the event of involuntary deployment of a service member. Do we have a motion on this? Is there discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move all to pass.
Okay, we have a motion about to pass and a second.
I'd like to discuss it. I have
Please.
a question.
Yeah?
When we heard I went over the hearing report and they said that there was a fix that needed. Did that fix happen? It was about, if you're paid, for example.
We have an amendment.
Okay,
yes.
well, that's what I want to know. If we
Yes.
could go over that, that would be appreciated.
And the amendment is here. It's from Senator Murphy.
And it fixes that problem. I'm
It
hoping.
does.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'll move Amendment 1573S.
And I will second that amendment. All right. Is there any further discussion on the amendment? Senator, do you want to?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The amendment simply clarifies that employer means at the same location, 50 employees at the same location, New Hampshire. The practice Department of Labor is to sometimes conglomerate the number of employees at various locations because it's under common ownership. And it also clarifies the employer may choose not to reemploy the employee if the employer certifies its circumstances have changed as to make reemployment impossible or unreasonable.
Okay.
And that's a slight modification of the existing language, just to sort of give the employer the benefit of the doubt in a tough situation.
Okay. All right. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I respect the intent of this bill, and I'm all for protecting our military members, our military spouses. I'd like to see a re-refer on this bill. I think this bill could use a little bit more work. Talking with small business owners, sometimes losing an employee for a year is catastrophic for small businesses. And I personally myself, I own a small business and I've been through losing an employee for a year, and it's very difficult to get by with losing that, especially if it's a critical employee. So I would like to see a re-refer. However, I appreciate Senator Murphy's amendment.
Yeah.
I'm gonna vote for the ought to pass, but I do think there are some concerns, especially in the small business community, that we can study this bill just a little bit more and get it passed in a better way.
All right.
If my colleagues are willing to do that, but if not, I can support the ought to pass.
Okay. All right. Further discussion, Senator Reardon. Mm-hmm.
Is this,
Microphone, if you could. Thank you.
it's a great idea. Does the definition of employer that's here conflict with how we define an employer other places in the law? Has the Department of Labor looked at that and said you can separate them by location?
Oh, I see.
The definition of employer that's being added in subsection B here is different than how employer is often used by the Department of Labor throughout other statutes. But it's not unusual to say, you know, to have a sentence like this: for the purpose of calculating the number of employees, the employee count of separate employers should not be combined regardless of common ownership. It's clarifying that it's in this instance only.
And I'll sort of jump in on this with an example. If you think about a Wendy's or McDonald's franchise and you're the owner, you know, you want the laws that apply to your franchise with, 25 employees. Those should probably be different from the entire corporation and the company-owned restaurants, which is maybe hundreds of thousands of employees, or at least tens of thousands. So I think that distinction makes sense from an economic point of view, at least.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
as you can see, I had written re-refer as my recommendation as well.
Mhm.
Not because I don't believe in the intent of the bill, but I did feel that it did need a little bit more work beyond the amendment.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. Further discussion? All right. So we have a motion on the amendment of ought to pass with a second. Ready for that? All right. All in favor of the amendment to House Bill 225, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. We also have an ought to pass motion on the underlying bill 225 FN.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
Senator McHugh had texted me as I was walking in saying he was 2 minutes away.
Okay.
If you'd like to put a pick in this,
I
it's an option.
can do that. We can move on to 242. All right, so we'll come back to 225. We are in executive session, so I guess we have a little flexibility. So 242, I believe, is from Representative Hunt, if I remember correctly. Indeed. And this one establishes or enables the holder of a brew pub license to hold an on-premises or off-premises license under certain conditions. There was no opposition from the Liquor Commission to this one. I will make a motion of ought to pass.
Second.
All right, we have an ought to pass and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? I'll move consent.
Second.
All right, all in favor of consent, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, and Senator Fenton will take it out. Thank you, sir. Okay, moving on, 296, building permits along private roads. And this one, I think, had to do with Class 6 roads, is that right, or was it just private? Senator Murphy, you're,
Yes,
yeah.
Mr. Chairman. I'm going to ask that you hold this bill.
Hold it.
It doesn't have an FN.
Yeah.
And I
Okay,
have a discussion that's going on with some with the sponsor and other parties.
okay.
I will have an amendment on this bill.
All right, so for next week?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. You got that, Mr. Jones? All right, very good. Next one is 309 FN, and we have an amendment for that. This is an act relative to making electronic payments for rent optional. And I have an amendment here. It deals with security deposits. Aaron, do you want to shed a little light on this one? Yes, I've got it here. So amend the bill, inserting proceedings in special cases, prohibited practices, and security deposits. There's some remedies here, bunch of numbers.
So I believe the intention is
Yes, and that's effectively what this does, in spite of not saying that explicitly. Yes, so that was one of the concerns that was raised when we had the hearing on the bill, and this addresses that. So I'm going to move ought to pass on 309.
Second.
We have a second, and then I'll move ought to pass on Amendment 1538S.
Second.
All right, we have a second on that. Both seconds from Senator Fenton. All right, is there further discussion on this one? Seeing none, all in favor of the amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All in favor of House Bill 309 FN, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Move consent?
All right, I'll second consent. All in favor of consent, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, who would like to take this one out?
Well,
All right, Senator Reardon, it is yours. All right, 382 is before us, and this is authority for municipalities to regulate mandatory on-site parking. And we have an amendment to this one as well. Repealing the requirement that a vehicle funding loan contracts have successive periodic payments. You may recall, I brought this one forward, and this deals with certain loan programs, such as one that's offered by the Ford Motor Credit Company, that enables sort of two different sets of payments for a vehicle. You make one set of payments at a particular rate for 3 years, and then it bumps up just a little bit for the remaining 2 years of the loan. It's a little bit of flexibility for folks, gets them a lower payment up front. And, you know, the theory is, and what really happens is people tend to get raises, and then at years 4 and 5, they're in a better position to pay that slightly higher rate. I think the example that was provided to us, it was like a $50 monthly difference, not that substantive. So to refresh everyone on that one. All right, so give me, did we make, we made motions on, not on either of these? All right,
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I have a question. Was there a hearing on this amendment? I support the
there
amendment.
was, yes.
yes.
Thank you very much.
All right. Do we have a motion on three?
Move out to pass.
All right, I'll second that. And do we have a motion on the amendment?
Move out to pass.
All right, okay, very good. All in favor of Amendment 1243S, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. All in favor of House Bill 382, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I'll move consent. All in favor of consent, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Anyone want to take this one out?
I will.
Senator Root. Thank you. 406, an act relative to the formation of fraudulent businesses.
I make a motion of ought to pass.
We have a motion about to pass. I will second that. Is there discussion on this one? I guess we all like it then. All right. All in favor of 406, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. I will move consent.
Second.
We have a second from Senator Murphy. All in favor of consent, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Anyone want to take this one out?
I take it out.
Senator Fenton. My colleagues are jumping up. Thank you.
I just copied this morning.
All right. 410, an act limiting local authority to adopt restrictions on the building and development of residential properties.
Move re-refer.
We have a move to re-refer
Second.
and a second. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I just want to say that I support the bill in principle. I think that the sponsor understands the importance of the issue. And the only reason I'm supporting a re-refer motion is that I believe that we have a lot of other moving pieces this year.
Mm-hmm.
And especially the bill we've already passed regarding a committee to study the effect of zoning.
Mhm.
And I think it's an elegant solution, and I just think we need a bit more time with it.
I tend to agree. Further discussion? All right. All in favor of the re-refer motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Move consent.
All right, second consent. All in favor of consent, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, I'll take this one out should the need arise. Okay. House Bill 437, curative measures for undischarged mortgages. And we heard testimony that There are a lot of times difficult situations created when you're trying to track down and prove that a mortgage has been discharged, and this bill facilitates that process. I don't believe there was any real opposition to this one, supported by the realtors. So I will make a motion about to pass on
Second.
437. We have a second from Senator Reardon. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor of the ought to pass motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Move consent.
All right, we have a move to consent. I'll second that. All in favor of consent, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, great. Anyone want to take this out?
Sure.
All right, Senator Reardon, you're going to be busy.
Aaron's
Take them
gonna
off
be
for a
real.
You know, without him.
Aaron's gonna be real.
Yes. All right, 499, an act making technical corrections in certain insurance laws. This was brought to us on behalf of the department. We'll see if my memory's right. I think it was Representative Hunt. Yes, it was. So I will make a motion about to pass on House Bill 499.
Second it.
We have a second from Senator Rishardi. Any discussion? All right, all in favor of House Bill 399, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, I will move consent.
Second.
Seconded by Senator Reardon. All in favor of consent, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, very good. It's on consent. Anyone want to take this out? Not Senator Reardon. You got enough.
I'll take it.
All right, Senator Rishardi will take this one out. I just don't want you to go hoarse.
They're all on the consent.
What's that?
All on the consent.
I know, but you never know.
You never know.
Okay. 611, residential building and commercial zoning. This one had some good testimony around it. Yes, 631.
I'm about to pass.
We have a motion about to pass. I will second that. Discussion on this one. This one is essentially, I always think of the Newington situation. They did come to testify, where we have a mall that isn't particularly well. Maybe it'll continue on. I hope it does. But if not, it might lend itself, to a really nice housing opportunity. And I understand both sides of this matter, so I'm interested in what everybody has to say.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
So, I recognize that we're working on housing issues and we've had a lot of bills fast.
Mm-hmm.
I also recognize and acknowledge my constituents and the people in the towns, and I just had too much information of asking me not to support this bill.
Mm-hmm.
And we keep moving in the direction of just unfunded mandates. And while I'm supporting a vast majority, this one is going to be a no for me.
Okay. Thank you for that. Other comments?
I would like to commend Housing Action New Hampshire on the really great piece that they put out. I think sometimes, especially when you don't work in housing every day, to be able to visualize what mixed use is with residential, it's not a gas station and then a house, then a retail store. And I think they did a good job illustrating it.
Okay, very good. Thank you for that. Any further comment? All right. All in favor of House Bill 631, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No?
Okay. If it were on consent, would you pull it, or would you be happy to leave it there? We won't put it on consent. All right. House Bill 685 is next. Oh,
Take it out.
I'll take it out. House Bill 685, an act permitting all residentially zoned areas by right the construction of manufactured housing. Do we have a motion on this one?
Move on to pass.
We have a motion about to pass from Senator Reardon.
Second.
Second from Senator Murphy. Discussion. All right. Seeing none, all in favor of House Bill 685, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No?
All right. We'll let that one go then. Two, who wants to take this one out?
I'll
I
take
would.
it.
Senator Murphy, you can have this one.
Am I still banned?
You're not banned. No one's banned. I just want to spread the love a little bit. All right. Who was taking out 631?
You.
Okay, thanks. I gotta tell you, everyone here today, between finance, commerce, and the end of the semester at UNH, I do know what day it is, but it's a lot right now. So thanks for being patient with me. The last one on the list before we circle back to 225 is 694.
Move on to pass.
We have a motion of ought to pass from Senator Reardon.
Second.
Second from Senator Murphy. Discussion. All right, seeing none, all in favor of the ought to pass motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, I'll move consent.
Second.
And all in favor of consent, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, who'd like to take this one out? Senator Reardon?
Thank you.
Right. Okay, it is on consent, however. Back up to 225. This is military spouses, and we do have an amendment on this one as well. We have a motion of ought to pass on both the amendment and the underlying bill. Is there further discussion? All right. All in favor of the ought to pass on the amendment to 225, which is 1573, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Yes, the amendment, correct?
Yes, this is the amendment.
Yes, the amendment.
Oh,
Yes,
yes, on
yes,
the
the
amendment, sorry.
All right.
Yep.
Okay, so we're good on the amendment. 6-0 if I'm counting right. And the bill itself, 225. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair, I
Yes,
just have
ma'am.
one question.
Of course.
I need clarification on something.
Mm-hmm.
In the hearing report, it said a concern, and I'm not clear that Senator Murphy's amendment fixes it, but I need to know.
Okay.
If an employer is paid, like say an IT person, has a six-figure income,
Mhm.
they'll still get half of that while they're away. Is that still the case? It's in the hearing report. That's why I was recommending re-refer, because that could be really problematic for a business.
Okay.
Although I support the intent of the bill,
Mhm.
but if you read the hearing report, there was testimony that the exact words were, if an IT person, for example, has a six-figure income, while they're away, will they be getting half that? They're still gonna need to replace the person while they're gone. I just want to be sure we're making the right decision here and not re-referring it and fixing it a little further.
Well, we have a couple of small business owners here, small and.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Senator Murphy.
If what Senator Ricciardi says is true, then I certainly wouldn't support the bill. I don't see that in here, and I'm not saying it's not. I'm saying I don't see it.
well. Yeah.
Lines 23 to 25
Mm-hmm.
on page 1 says, any leave of absence due to involuntary mobilization of their spouse shall be unpaid.
With no benefits or
With no
accrual of
benefits or accrual.
benefits.
So
Yeah, I'm not sure then. It doesn't seem to be, if you look at lines 23 to 25, it clearly indicates they shall be unpaid.
Okay, I was just I reread all the hearing
Yeah.
reports because I find that beneficial.
It is.
And it was in the hearing report.
Yeah.
And so I just want to make sure that we're not, you
Yep.
know, causing an undue burden to a business owner.
no, I certainly not want to see that either.
No, and I support the intent of this bill. Like I said, I think it's very important to support our veterans and our spouses. And I just want to see it re-refer so we can work on this bill a little more so that we can all get to a yes on it. Talking to small business owners, if you lose an employee for a year, a position you have to hold, if you have 50 employees, that could be catastrophic to your business. And I think there's a way we can get to a yes on this bill. We re-refer it, maybe work on it a little more. But I'm a no on the ought to pass. Not because I think we all support veterans here, but it's just important that we get this right first.
Well, let me ask you, on page 2, lines 3 to 5, the employer may choose not to reemploy the employee if the employer establishes that its circumstances have so changed as to make reemployment impossible or unreasonable. Does that address your concern or not?
I guess I would have to hear from labor more on
Okay.
it, because I think that could be a gray area where, use a business, for instance, where no matter what, you could argue that the person leaving for a year is
It's a hardship.
it's a hardship,
Yep.
no matter what. I think you
Right.
can make that claim every single time,
Yep.
especially if you're trying to fill that position, especially with the job market we have currently. I think,
Mhm.
like I said, there's a way to get to yes,
Mhm.
but I just think if we give us a little time, we can figure that out.
All right, appreciate the comments. Further discussion? All right, we do have an ought to pass motion on the amendment. We've done the amendment, sorry. And we have an ought to pass motion on 225. We're going to go ahead and do that vote then. All in favor of House Bill 225, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
No.
No.
All right, so we're 3-3. So be it.
Move, re-refer.
We have a motion of re-refer
Second.
and a second. Discussion on re-refer.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
would you like to push forward with this at the moment, or do you want to pick it up a little later, perhaps? I know it's got an FN on it, and I think maybe I could speak to Senator Fenton, and maybe we could look at maybe changing the language. What's your time frame on this?
Well, it's an FN.
Yeah.
So next week is a must. Can you have it by then?
Oh, yes. for
We've
sure.
kind of officially voted on it.
Mr. Chair, if I may,
Yes.
address Senator Murphy,
Yes.
could you do that gray area and speak to the Labor Committee?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
I just want to allay concerns, and I don't want to have a floor fight over a bill that we don't need to have a floor fight.
We
All right. No, we
No,
don't.
we.
It's actually been
Let it
okay.
go.
I'll withdraw.
So where are we
re-refer.
process-wise?
I'll withdraw that.
Yeah, I'll withdraw my second.
Okay, that's, I want to be sure.
We can-
All right. Okay, Senator Murphy, you're on. We'll see you next week. All right. Do I have a motion to come out of executive session? All right,
Second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, we're out of executive session. We are in recess for 3 minutes. All right.
Yeah, I didn't.
Exec session.
I'm entitled to do that. Not being in the normally. And then people who I represent, thank you.
The hearing on House Bill 633, which we carried over from April the 10th. And Aaron, do we have the sign-in sheet? We don't have an intern today, apparently. We're intern free, so.
Aaron's the best aide.
He's the best. Yeah, thank you, sir. Okay, very good. Let's see here. We have a couple folks who would like to speak. And I will start with Representative Daniels, who I see out there. Good morning, sir.
Chairman, whereas I spoke in the April,
Yes,
I would appreciate it if we let the others speak first.
okay. All right, that would be perfectly fine. Thank you, Representative. All right, Mr. Michael Del Defano, if I got that right? Yes. Good morning, sir. And if you could, please, just turn on your microphone. double duty for you today? Yes, thank you. Okay. Anytime you're ready, just turn on your microphone and Aaron will be able to keep things moving, I think. No, it's not. When the red light is on, ironically, that's when it's on.
Good morning, Chairperson Innes and Chairperson Rick Dottie, and the honorable members of the committee. I'm Michael Delafano of Amherst, New Hampshire, and thank you for recessing this hearing from April 10th when I was traveling out of state. Your accommodation is much appreciated. A little background and qualifications on myself. I have over 50 years of real estate experience, community planning and housing degrees, decades of buying, selling, financing, developing, and managing real estate. January of 24, now Governor Ayotte asked for my input on addressing housing supply shortfall, and by January 2025, I introduced HB 633 to her office. Today, I'm here to urge you to pass 633 original language, which I've circulated. And I'm happy to have this go to study committee, but it's important that the original language move forward. Otherwise, it'll postpone critical action for over a year. Please find the written material that I circulated, one of the document that has a description of what we're doing, and please take a minute to read the opening paragraph on the first page, and then we'll flip it over and I'll walk you through the balance of the chart on the back.
Okay. Aaron, do you have a copy you can give him?
So on the flip side, you're going to see an organizational chart. On the left side of that chart, you see independent revolving loan fund. The important takeaway here is that is entirely independent. You think of Fidelity, Wellington Management, or New Hampshire's own Pax World. These are the financial institutions that we'll eventually be dealing with. We're going to promote within those organizations 3 investment classes of that ordinary people can subscribe to. One would be a debt class, one would be a capital gain class, and the third would be a self-directed investment. And self-directed investments let employers, parents, and impact investors to see exactly how their money supports housing for employees, seniors, or specific communities. The Housing Investment Trust will pay the revolving fund a coupon based on the funds that it borrows, and the revolving fund will then pay the investors a yield based on competitive market activity. On the right side, the Housing Investment Trust, first, is a charitable trust. It enables philanthropic donations and access to grants. It's governance. When I introduced this bill to the governor, I gave her the option to appoint an unpaid board of directors and 3 trustees charged with safeguarding both the families and the investors' interests. I will hold 1 board seat to guide implementation. And I would be happy if the governor were to appoint these people on a temporary basis until the organization gets up and running, and then they can replace themselves. The trustees, there are 3. I'm in discussion with 2 of 3 potential trustees. Discussions are underway with New Hampshire Housing Finance Authority. I'm encouraging them to be the administrative trustee, and NeighborWorks of Southern New Hampshire is the operational trustee. The master trustee's role remains open, but initially I would like to see perhaps the Attorney General's office assume that role. Now, the subsidiary trusts, which are listed in the green box, Under 293B, subsidiary trusts are listed as series trusts, and the master trust can have as many of these series trusts as it needs. Each of these series trusts will have its own, each subsidiary trust will own one piece of property. And the important takeaway on that is that each subsidiary trust isolates liability and allows us to target the financing for individual families without cross-collateralization. Uniform governance. A single trust agreement standardizes all the rules for the subsidiary trust. So there is one set of agreements that everybody follows. It makes management of this extremely easy. Any amendment to that operating agreement I'm proposing would require Justice Department sign-off to prevent any kind of mischief. Integrated services. New Hampshire Housing Finance, I'm asking them to consider underwriting the loans and perhaps doing the servicing of these loans. NeighborWorks of Southern New Hampshire to educate and provide counsel for borrowers throughout the life of the loan to ensure both successful home ownership and workforce stability. Addressing the amendment and protecting families. Now, the stated motivation of the House Judicial Committee's amendment was a concern for the families this trust will serve. I share that concern, and I've expressly designed the trust structure to protect those families' rights and welfare. Board of Trustees and the board and the trustees have a fiduciary duty, and the governor's pick of the board and trustees' roles are legally bound to put families' interests first. Transparency and oversight. The organization structure, investments, and in operational decisions subject to multiple layers of review by the board, by trustees, and by the Department of Justice if they get involved for any further changes. If the committee restores the original language, Representative Daniels and I will meet with Judicial Chair Lynn immediately to secure any conditions of his concurrence. It's important to understand why 633 matters to the state. It stabilized growth and workforce. Trust homes will be a powerful tool attracting and retaining the employees New Hampshire businesses need. Leverage private capital. The structure multiplies philanthropic and private dollars in ways that traditional programs cannot. Protect starter home inventory by aligning private capital and statutory safeguards. The trust will stabilize the opportunity for aspiring families to find homes within their financial reach, grow roots in our communities, employment with our employers, and to grow wealth as they need to live independently, all without state tax dollars. In conclusion, H33 closes a critical gap in our housing toolbox. It unleashes fresh capital, protects families, and cements New Hampshire's reputation as the best state in which to live, work, and raise a family. And I respectfully urge you to vote ought to pass with the original language. And if you choose a study committee in addition to that, that's fine. There's a lot of work that has to be done. It's going to take a year and maybe another pass through the legislature once the attorneys get through with me to turn the key on this. But that year is critical. And I have to have that definition in order to get our charter set up, get our nonprofit status ready, get the legal work done, get the funds necessary to pay for that legal work. If I have to wait a year for that, it's a terrible loss to the state. With that, I'll take any questions.
All right, questions, Senator Murphy.
Thank you for bringing this forward. I think it's a very interesting idea. My question is, do you have any reason to believe that the House, if we were to amend the bill the way you're asking back to the original language, any reason to believe that they wouldn't simply not concur? That's the risk you're running in doing that.
Hard question.
Have you talked to sponsors over there? Or?
Yeah, we talked to Representative Daniels spoke directly with Chairman Lynn, and the only concern he expressed was for the health, the welfare, and economic safety of the people who occupy trust homes. My interpretation of his answer was that he was thinking that this was a traditional trust structure where we may have, excuse me, a irrevocable trust. It isn't that at all. An investment trust under 293B behaves a lot like a corporation. And the operating agreement that's specified in 293 states all of the terms and conditions of occupancy. That's sort of the Bible for the trust. Now, I've already introduced to attorneys in the state who haven't agreed to work with me yet, but they are considering it. I even went to Attorney Elliott Barry and tried to drag him out of retirement to say, I really am concerned that the documentation that we write for this over the summer properly reflects the safety standards for consumers. So that was the answer to your question is the only known objection I'm aware of is the health and safety issue. And I think we have enough safeguards built into that. If we understood them, would probably concur.
Okay. Other questions, Senator Reardon?
Thank you, and thank you for taking my question. So Elliott Barry actually 40 years ago helped found something called the New Hampshire Community Loan Fund,
Sure.
which does exactly this. It's a revolving loan fund. It's made thousands of mortgages, business loans, all of that with a very low default rate, and takes in investments from both commercial entities and individuals and pays a return on that. And it didn't take any legislation to create. It was completely a private entity that does, in fact, partner with the New Hampshire Housing Finance. Why do you need us to create an entity in government when this could be done privately and it's a 501c3?
So I studied the loan fund. I've actually spoken with people at the loan fund. As a CDFI, they are limited to low and low moderate income participation in the community. Their mission is very strict in that they limit to low and low moderate. The challenge of workforce is that you have people earning nearly 200% of the median income and are anxious about buying a $500,000 ranch house. So what this is doing that's unique, that doesn't fit under any federal or Treasury supervision, is it allows us to creatively finance a occupancy of a home that's a cross between renting and owning, in that there's no subsidy involved with this at all. There's no tax benefit given to these people. There's no down payment assistance. They pay what the market will bear. But they pay it to the trust in a way that their principal and interest payments accumulate principal twice as fast as it would with a traditional loan. And we do that in exchange because the trust owns the property and they can't share in the property's appreciation on resale. The only true benefit we can give them is rapid reduction in debt. And since they don't own the home, they can give us 30 days notice. They can take a check and go buy their own home. So there are features of this system that are not out there in the marketplace or under any government program that we could apply to. The closest thing that we can find are shared equity trusts. Those are mostly driven by REITs that buy the land and allow people to own and occupy a home above the land, very similar to a
A
land
REIT
trust
is a
model.
real estate investment trust.
Yeah, and then statutorily under the 1940s Investment Trust Act, which is what they are chartered under, they must give 90% of their profit back to their investors. And we want not to do that. We want to take any profit, if there is any, of the trust and reinvest it into starter homes in New Hampshire.
Oh,
All of it.
So in fact, it's kind of an installment sale, but they don't share in the appreciation. They get only the equity that they're actually putting in.
Correct. But while they're paying exactly what they would pay in a traditional loan, we don't have mortgage insurance, we don't need title searches, so we cut the operating costs. Once the trust buys it, it's already done a title search. So what they're buying is an equitable interest in the trust. They don't need a title search for that. What they're buying into the agreement reduces their upfront costs by better than a third. And because they don't have mortgage insurance and because of the way we structure the loan, it's part capital investor and part debt investor, their debt is much smaller. And I'm happy to get together with you on the side to show you the financing. The model that I'll show you shows that they accumulate, in addition to straight principal and interest, over $1,000 a month goes to direct hit to principal. Now that serves several purposes. One, it's essentially the security deposit for the property, because under the agreement, if they damage the property, it comes out of that growth equity. Second, it is their nest egg, in that when they leave, they'll get a check for that amount. And thirdly, the important takeaway here is that they're very unlikely to give us the keys if they have a lot of equity on the table. They don't have to. There is no foreclosure. So there's no risk of credit damage. There's no risk of, we have built into this the ability to have forbearance. That $1,000 a month could be reduced off their monthly check, and they still wouldn't be in default on the loan. So we built in a lot of safeguards to ensure success and the opportunity for young families to grow roots in the town, in the state, and to reduce the fear of stepping out into the market and buying a $500,000 ranch house and hoping the value goes up so they can cover the debt.
All right, any further questions? All right, seeing none, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you for your time.
Representative Daniels. So Representative, this is creating a study committee, right?
The bill before you, Mr. Chairman, creates a study. That was the amendment that the House
Yes,
passed.
understood.
And,
Okay, you're on.
Thank you. For the record, my name is Gary Daniels. I'm a representative from Hillsborough 43, representing the town of Milford, and the prime sponsor of House Bill 633. First of all, thank you for recessing this from April 10th to give Mr. Delafano the opportunity to get in and to testify on this. This, again, is a bipartisan bill. As you've heard, it has its realm of complexity to it, which is one of the reasons that the House changed it to a study committee. However, we have had conversations with Representative Lynn. As stated, his main concern was the rights of the householder, a term which would be defined along with the investment trust. And we've been talking with Bill Ardinger as well as Elliot Berry. So we've addressed a lot of the legal issues, the concerns on the part, and that's why Mr. Delafano says we believe that we could satisfy the concerns of Representative Lynn if the original language were put back in. I'll say that we also have presented this to banking, securities, BEA, the governor's office. So we've tried to make the rounds to the various players that might have an interest in this to find out if there are any holes so that we could fill them. Appreciate Mr. Delafano's work. He's diligently worked on this for over a year. But, you know, what you are bringing to you is something unique. something we haven't really seen in this legislature before, and that's a private sector solution that could be added to the toolbox. We see plenty of bills coming in that look to do different things with the public sector funds. And I'm not saying that this bill is a cure-all for all things, because I know there are a number of bills that have passed the Senate that's coming over to the House that we will consider. But considering the seriousness of the housing issue before us, considering the fact that there are 10% of houses in the state that are uninhabitable and could fit very well into the goal of this, which is to rehab those without increasing the density in the local communities. I think it's well worthwhile to keep on the table and to pursue the private sector solution to this. As it was mentioned, it is a multi-year thing. So it's different than what we're normally seeing, in that we bring in a solution to something, we pass it, and then it takes effect the following January. This is going to take some time to get it all together. What we're looking for in the original language is simply to put the definition of housing investment trust into statute as a 501c3. That's going to enable us to go forward seeking the designation, as well as seeking the legal work that needs to be done. But thinking over it for the last couple of weeks, I think there's also merit, if you wish to put back the original language, to also have the study committee in there. Because there are things that still need to be worked out, but to allow us to go forward and to seek that designation and the time-consuming things on the legal side of things, while at the same time we have a study committee that actually studies the what-ifs on this, so that we're ready in November to bring in legislation to put this forward and maybe get something into place next year. I think it would be well worth the effort. So that is my ask of you today, that we put back the original language, let Mr. Delafano and I work with Representative Lynn and others on the House side of things. And let's work together and see if we can make this a part of the housing solutions that we need to seek in state.
Okay. Thank you, Representative. Other questions, Senator Murphy?
Representative Downs, just to clarify, how do you feel about the original language plus a study committee?
Yes.
How do I feel
How
about
do you feel
the what?
about the original language with the definition plus a study committee?
Yes, both. I'd say
yeah.
both together.
Yeah, you
Thank you.
said
I mean,
that was good.
and the reason is, if you pass just the original language, it kind of leaves us out there where we'd have to do something like private sector type get together and kind of come up with solutions. I think it's much more effective to have a legislative committee that is looking at the what ifs, and you'll by November 1st, you'll have to have a recommendation on things for next year. And I think that's going to be the most expedient way of bringing it forward.
All right. Any further questions? All right, thank you, Representative. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on House Bill 633 who maybe didn't sign up? All right, on the sign-in sheet, 2 people not speaking, 1 opposed, 1 in support. I will close the hearing on 633. We'll open House Bill 77 in just a moment. Yes. I'll trade you. All right. You? All right, we'll open the hearing on House Bill 77. And looks like, is our prime sponsor here? Yes. All right. Good morning, sir. Welcome.
Good morning. Good morning, Senate Commerce, Mr. Chair, and members of the committee. I'm pitch hitting for the prime sponsor. I am a co-sponsor on this bill, so.
Yes.
So it's House Bill 77. The idea is the state requires merchants that sell alcohol to scan our license to make sure that or to at least look at our license to make sure that we're of legal age. And this bill would, the amended version makes it clear that line 6 there, it says nothing in this paragraph shall authorize the licensee to record, retain, or store in any electronic form or format information and it lists a long list of information. So the original version of this bill was a prohibition, and the amended version is making it not explicitly authorized. And it's a privacy issue to some of us. It's not a very complicated bill, so if you have any questions, I'll
Pretty
get to my best.
straightforward. A dozen lines is always a good bill, right?
Yeah, that's right.
All right. Senator Rishardi.
Well, how are you? Nice
Good to see you.
I'm happy to see this bill, but I'm wondering if you would think about expanding it, because I'm having this same issue when I go to Walgreens or CVS. I want to buy a gift card, or if you want to do a return, and they will not do it if they don't scan your license.
Right.
And I've been trying to work with Director Marasco and others to get the clarification on what truly is allowed and not. And I was thinking of doing something next session on this issue. Would you entertain covering a more broader area so that our licenses can stop being scanned?
Yeah, I would. I don't know if we have enough time in this session here to do that, but I know hotel providers have a limited window that they're allowed to store the data. I forget if it's 60 days or something like that, where they have to destroy their records after a period of time. That seems like a pretty consistent approach. You know, the ability to, sometimes you want to make sure, let's say you have a guest in your hotel and they're staying for a week. Sometimes you want to keep that information around a little while until you're done with that guest and they move on. So I think that's a great idea for future legislation.
A follow-up?
Follow up.
So what I learned was it's like Walgreens isn't storing it themselves, it's even a third party. And what I learned is that it's one of the number one identity theft ways for you
Right.
to have that happen to you. So
Right.
thank you for bringing it forward.
Absolutely.
Further questions? Seeing none. Thank you,
right.
Representative. Appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you very much.
Ms. Deborah Johnson would like to speak. Good morning.
Good morning, and thank you for holding this hearing. I'll start out by saying, which I wrote on the sheet, I support the bill, but not the amendment. As far as I can tell, the amendment basically neutralizes the whole, it doesn't change much at all about the old law. And what I passed to you, unfortunately, I printed it off kind of small, but these are systems that are sold online, and they're sold based on that they can store our information from our driver's licenses, all of it. Our pictures, our signatures, our height, weight, eye color, it's all going into a database that can be there. If we're going, I mean, I would like to see the original bill passed without the amendment, because I don't think there's a lot of reasons. One of the reasons is there's a federal law against it, but I don't see that we have anything in place that monitors these systems like we do our gas pumps to see if people are bringing in information they shouldn't be, other than their age and the name and identity. And then whether or not it's being stored. We don't have anything in this bill that says we'll send somebody out to all of these stores that are doing this and make sure that they're not keeping this information or worse, selling it. This scares me a lot. I feel like whenever we're doing these kinds of things, I feel like, I think the Liquor Commission is here and they want it, and it's this whole, it's a question of balancing our safety against our privacy. And the reason the federal law was made was it was through driver's license information that a celebrity was stalked and murdered. I don't know if you got past the packets that I brought to the hearings when it was in the House or not, but it had a lot of the information in there, including the laws. But I find this very Orwellian, that we're going down this road of being able to scan our information for a convenience store. I don't mind showing my license, even though I have gray hair and it ought to be obvious that I'm over 18 or 21 or whatever the heck the age is these days. I don't mind showing my license, but to scan it into a system that can store it and then trust that the business is going to be honest and they're not. I used to work for Nextmark. Selling information on people is a big business. You know, that's why you get all of your junk mail and everything else. So I don't know what else to say about this. You know, we're forced to get a driver's license in order to have the ability to move around our, you know, the country, the state, and then we're told that that's what it's going to be used for. But now all of a sudden we're going to change it and we're going to use it for other things. So I don't really know what else I can say other than I would like this bill to remain without the amendment. And they've added into the bill that these convenience stores or whatever, they're not going to be held responsible if they did due diligence, which I think is the fair thing to do.
Okay.
So does anybody have any questions to ask me? Because I
I just have one. Could you state your name and your town for the
Okay.
record so he has it?
Sure. Deborah Johnson, Grantham, New Hampshire.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? All right, thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right, is there anyone else who would like to speak on House Bill 77? All right, seeing none, I'll close the hearing on House Bill 77, and in a moment, we will pick up House Bill 81. So, there she is. Okay. All right, we'll open up the hearing on House Bill 81, and I believe we have Representative Land here to introduce this one as one of the co-sponsors. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of Senate Commerce. For the record, my name is Erica Leon. I represent the town of Derry, and I am here introducing this bill for Representative Jared Sullivan, who is out of town this week. He is the prime sponsor, and I had signed on to this bill. The genesis for this bill was that Representative Sullivan was speaking with one of his friends who recounted a pretty awful experience from when she was younger. She was out at a bar, had one drink, and then woke up in a hotel room the next morning after being raped. They actually had been talking at home and then headed out to a restaurant or a bar. And that's when they noticed the sign that said that the state of New Hampshire prohibits you from bringing your alcohol into the bathroom. Given the conversation they had just had, and given the fact that there's a lot more dangerous things than simply carrying a glass into a restroom, he felt that this was a necessary change to the law, and I agreed, which is why I co-sponsored. I have heard people bring up the idea of how unsanitary is it to bring your drink into the bathroom. My bigger question is, I'm a lot less worried about germs than I am about people being drugged and raped. So hopefully you share this, the view that it's more important to empower people to protect themselves from unwanted assaults than it is to micromanage how they handle their drinks. And I would hope that you pass this bill. So I'm happy to take any questions.
Other questions? Seeing none. Yeah, all right. I have comments, but I'll hold them. Okay. Thank you, Representative.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right. Henry Vayu. Are you here, Henry? Yes, there he is. Yeah. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. For the record, my name's Henry Vayu, and I'm here on behalf of the New Hampshire Lodging and Restaurant Association. In the beginning of the session, we have our public policy call with a lot of folks in the industry. This was one of the bills that we asked them to comment on, and most folks were opposed to it simply because of the challenge that it brings to the operator of managing and watching the consumption of alcohol in their licensed premises. With someone able to take it into a bathroom, there's the challenge of potentially underage drinking, overconsumption. And so generally, the industry, we understand the impetus for the bill. And this is one way to try to go about it. A lot of the folks that were on the call said they will always, the bartenders will always take, if someone wants to go to the bathroom, they're happy to take the drink and keep it behind the bar as a safe way. So that's pretty much what the industry thoughts are.
Senator Murphy.
Mr. Velu, hi.
Yes.
Mechanically, how's this supposed to work? If it's a busy Saturday night and a group of 3 girls stands up and they all hold a drink, cocktail, and they walk to the bathroom, is the operator supposed to put someone at the entrance of the bathroom to stop, say, wait, you can't come in with those drinks? I mean, how is the operator supposed to reasonably intercept those drinks between the table and the bathroom door?
Oh, you're saying the current law?
Yeah, how does that happen now?
Oh, and I'm sure it doesn't happen, on occasion. I think operators try to, but to your point, and you're in the industry, so you know, it's in a busy night. I'm sure there are folks taking it in there.
Follow up?
Follow up.
So the obvious follow-up for me is, should the operator face a fine or license suspension because they failed to intercept every cocktail between the door and the bathroom and the table?
Again, I don't know how, I think the act of taking it in there, I don't think the commission is fining people for bringing the alcohol in there. From the operator standpoint, it just makes it a little more complex with underage drinking and overservice. That's all.
Thank you.
And that's where ultimately the commission will come down hard on is underage drinking and overservice. So I'm not necessarily worried about someone taking it in there, but if it's a general policy that you can, it just makes it a little more challenging, that's it.
Senator Richard.
Hello, nice to see you. Thanks for taking my question. So I understand the intent of the bill and certainly don't want women or anyone harmed, but I don't know if it completely addresses it because there's been so many incidents where females sitting right there with her drink and it still gets, contaminated. And I also wonder, are there any health laws that say bringing your drink into the bathroom would not be such a great idea?
I don't know if anyone from public health is here, but.
Yeah, I think so. All right.
Okay.
All right. Any further questions? Thank you, Mr. Vayu. Appreciate it. The commission is here. Would you mind addressing this for just a second? Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, honorable committee members. For the record, Chief Mark Armaganian, Director of Liquor Enforcement and Licensing, with me here today is Lieutenant Matt Culver, command of the licensing area in our administrative section.
Okay.
I'm here to answer any questions and to be quite honest about it, as we were testifying in the House on this, Senator Murphy, you bring up some very valid points. This is a very tough balance because both sides of this issue have valid points that they're putting forward. So one being contaminated, as you said, Senator, contaminated drinks, roofied drinks. The second is, as a licensee, former licensee, you sit there and say to yourself, where's my culpability? Do I have to put somebody at the door of the bathroom? So the Liquor Commission has remained neutral on this issue, just because at the end of the day, this is just so sensitive of an issue, and there are very valid points on either side of this coin.
Okay, Senator Murphy.
Best of your recollection or knowledge, has the commission ever cited an operator or warned an operator for that matter because there were drinks in a restroom?
Thank you for your question, Senator. Probably warned. Just we're in the premise. We'll use a generic as an example. If we're in the premise, I mean, you know as well as anybody, probably better than anybody, that at the end of the day, this is, at least under this new Liquor Commission Enforcement Division, this is about a partnership. So we're trying to help you have control of your premise. There might have been, which might not be documented, hey, just so you know, you just had somebody walk into your bathroom with a drink, with a beer bottle. At the end of the day, there have been complaints of miniatures being snuck into the bathroom and loading up diet beverages, if you will. I don't want to use the term beverage because that's a defined term, but soft drinks. That's an argument. We've heard that quite frequently. At the same time, I'm a girl dad. It's as simple as that. They're just into that drinking age that doesn't want to drink. But beside the point, they don't want to leave their drinks on the table. And I sit back and I'm like, you know what? Personally, my professional opinion different than my personal opinion. You know what? I want you to keep control of that. So there are right answers is better to answer this. There's right answers on both sides of this argument. Totally.
Okay. Anything further? Thank you. Appreciate both
thank
of you
you.
being here. And is there anyone else who would like to speak on House Bill 81? Seeing none, I'll close the hearing on House Bill 81. And note that we may exec this one today at the end. And we will open 76 with the strike of the gavel. All right. And who do we have introducing this one? House Bill 276. Do we have anyone here to present this one to us? I'm not seeing our prime sponsor, so you want to do it, Senator Murphy? All right. Senator Murphy will introduce this one to the committee. House Bill 276, establishing a liquor license where beverages, wine, and liquor can be sold without food. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. I'm here to introduce on behalf of Representative Hemingway, House Bill 276, liquor license where beverage, wine, and liquor can be sold without food. I am reading the bill for the first time just with you, and I'm excited to say that I can't really answer any questions.
All right. Thank you, Senator. Appreciate
Thank
it
you.
very much. Next on the list, we have Henry Vayu, who would like to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, for the record, my name is Henry Vayu, and I'm here for the New Hampshire Lodging and Restaurant Association, and I'm the designated skunk at the party today. So this was another one that we asked the industry to review, and the feeling of the industry is this. To date, the law has been that you have to serve food. Many of them have made large investments in kitchens. You don't make money on food. You make money on the service of alcohol. And so what will result is a lot of places popping up, very little investment. $6,800 license fee. You could probably make that back in a week. And so just that challenge is why the industry folks don't think it's a great idea.
Okay. All right, thank you. Questions? Senator Murphy.
Mr. Vayu, I happen to have a restaurant license, and the requirement is that I think it's $75,000 worth of food per year must be
Right.
sold.
Right.
It's my understanding that there are operators, not me, but operators in the state that actually hit that target on frozen pizzas and chips. Can you speak to any of this? Have you ever seen a licensee lose a liquor license because they couldn't hit that annual target?
I would oppose that. I would love to have the commission come up and answer that. But I get what you're saying. I think most licenses do well over the minimum, but there are places out there, I'm sure, and the commission could probably better speak to that. Your point that there are those that are just putting some things out there. I mean, there's a definition, and that you can't just stick a bag of chips out there. There's some minimum. Yeah.
Okay. Any further questions? All right, thank you, Mr. Vayu. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on House Bill 276 who didn't sign up? You do? All right, come on up. Welcome back.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You didn't indicate you wanted to speak, that's why I didn't call on.
I did.
But we're always happy.
I thought I could slide on this one, but I guess not.
All right. So let me just ask a quick question. Or statement and then a question. I've always been under the impression that we had the food requirement to sort of, and this not the technical phrase, kind of soak up the alcohol a little bit, right?
Absolutely.
And put a level of safety there. And yet we have cigar bars with no food.
Absolutely.
Right. So I'm sort of interested in this and where the commission is.
So I can answer that question twofold. Just a little background. Your analysis is correct. So the ingestion of food actually helps slow down
Right.
the absorption of alcohol into the system. The body burns off alcohol average, everybody's different metabolism wise, 0.015 an hour. So what we're looking to do is, again, in an effort to help our operators, our licensees out there, and still making their money, but creating time and distance between drinks, we like to see, and still are maintaining that, we'd like to see food at the establishments. But at the same time, there have been, to Senator Murphy's question, there have been licensees that haven't made it their mark. And one of them being the cigar bars. The cigar bar license was made in an attempt to smoke cigars and have a nice drink with it, not to be a workaround to having food at your establishment and creating a quote unquote bar. So with that in mind, we, as I said earlier, we still maintain that food should be in this circumstance, but at the same time, a hair different than what Senator Murphy brought up about the 75,000, which is for very, an establishment that is doing very well. There is also percentage that mirrors that, and it's a 50-50 percentage. Alcohol to food ratio. When your establishment's doing well, you just worry about that $75,000 mark and you don't have to worry about anything else after that. But with this license type, what we testified in the House was, if this does come to fruition, it's going to create, number one, a wave of a lot of establishments actually switching their license types over to this one. Which again will create for lack of a better term, a very heavy lift for the division as far as compliance is concerned. So that's when, full disclosure, that's when Chairman Hunt at the time came up with that new fee. It's off by a little. It's supposed to be 5 times a cocktail lounge, which would be $6,400 even. the math was a little off on that, so.
All right, a couple things if I could. I can go into a pub, sit at the bar and not order food, right? And
Yes.
still get a drink.
It's your decision.
Yeah, okay. Second one, I hear your last comment that we might have a plethora of bars opening up all over the state with no food, much lower cost of entry in this situation. Do you think this could eventually lead us to restrict the number of licenses that are provided in the state? Many states do that, and that's the way
Absolutely.
they keep it from running crazy.
The reason I'm smiling, Mr. Chairman, is because this has been a conversation. It didn't make it out of the House, but it has been a conversation to restrict that.
It just seems to me if we're going to open this up, right, that's because the food requirement sort of serves as a cap on the number of these things that we'll see.
Absolutely.
You remove that cap, I mean, goodness, you could have 6 bars in my little town of Bradford.
Absolutely, you could.
So
Well, it's an opt-in too. So, and Lieutenant Culver can go over.
So the towns would have to vote on it to accept it.
Yeah, yes,
Nevertheless, I mean, you see what I'm saying?
absolutely I
Yeah.
do. Absolutely I do. Lieutenant Culver can go over the technical aspects of what is being presented as a license type right now.
Thank you, Chairman, respective committee members. This is an opt-in for the towns.
Yeah.
So how this is written in the current amendment would be that the towns would have to vote on this by means of a warrant article and vote in the ability to have the tavern license. Then if they voted for that, if the township voted for that, then they would be eligible to apply for the license.
Right.
But as you stated, a way to limit this is, which has historically never been done, I'm sure you are aware, to limit the number of licenses issued.
I'm a free market guy, but you know, at the same time, we've got to balance a number of things. So, okay, are there further questions, Senator Murphy?
Thank you. I don't see cocktail lounge licenses listed on the fee structure within the bill. Does this license purport to replace the cocktail license?
Thank you, Senator Murphy. No, it does not replace the cocktail lounge license. The cocktail lounge license fee is the $1,200. And that's broken up. It's on page 2 is what you're looking at.
Yes, sir.
So on the right-hand column, the far right-hand column is
Oh,
the
I see.
$1,200 cocktail lounge fee.
Thanks very much.
Yes.
Senator Fenton?
Thank you for taking my question. Who can serve alcohol right now without food besides the cigar lounges, or is it just the cigar lounges?
Oh, no.
Thank you, Senator. There's several different license types. Generally speaking, the cocktail lounge is the ability to serve alcohol without the benefit of food. As far as the restaurant portion of that is concerned, the restaurants have to maintain their kitchen being open until 9 p.m. and then they're allowed to serve alcohol without the benefit of food. So there's many different cocktail lounge types. The most common compared to this situation is the social clubs, veterans clubs, and military clubs. And under those licenses, while it's true that they have the ability to serve alcohol with no food at all, their licenses are limited in other ways. They have to be a private organization. They're not open to the public. Their patronage is restricted only to their membership or 4 guests that have to be signed in. Their doors have to be locked from a securable. There's a lot of different restrictions on the ability to serve that alcohol without the benefit of food.
Follow up?
Thank you for the follow-up. I just did some quick research. It looks like Massachusetts allows establishments to serve alcohol without food, and I know we all love Massachusetts in this room. Just curious if you're aware of that, or if any repercussions they've had, or any issues they've had.
I don't know of any repercussions they've had or detriment to the service of alcoholic beverages. I do know one thing, most of the establishments that I've been to in Boston, and we've all been to in Boston, are usually eateries that that have that concept. We've testified in the past, like this age group that just has become of age, they're not hugely partaking in alcoholic beverages. At the same time, they're looking for the ambiance, if you will, of going out to dinner and having a glass of wine or a mixed spirit drink with that, or a glass of beer. I'm sure some of you up here could give me some different data on that. But chances are, it's part of that going out at night. We all do it ourselves, right? If we do partake in alcoholic beverages, we're going to an eatery and then having a drink along with it as we're waiting for that meal to show up. So again, this is, if you took a test sample, it's probably going to be all over the place, depending on your geographic area. Let's even talk about college towns and everything else that goes along with it. There's a lot of dynamics that play into this.
Okay.
Thank you for your question, though, Senator.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it. Okay, once again, anyone else who would like to speak on House Bill 276? Seeing none, we'll close the hearing.
You think-
No. There's no way. We've already got the apple seed, that's it. That's pretty much all the town gets supported. Nothing would change for us. No. Okay. All right, I'm going to open the hearing on House Bill 505. And is our prime sponsor here? Yes, Representative. Representative Aaron, please. Come on up. I see she's a co-sponsor. Good morning, representatives.
Good morning, Chair, and thank you, Senate Commerce Committee, for the record. My name is Representative Judy Aaron. I represent the towns of Ackworth, Goshen, Langdon, Leominster, and Washington in Sullivan County, District 4. So I guess I'm here to introduce this bill. I'm here to introduce the bill and testify, of course, in favor of HB 505 as co-sponsor, allowing the sale of freeze-dried foods produced in homestead food operations. And as Chair of Environment and Agriculture in the House, we voted this bill unanimously in a bipartisan manner as well, through our committee as well as through the House on consent. And I'm sorry to say, it just seems like one of the constituents who was advocating for this bill brought us all freeze-dried ice cream snacks, and I'm sorry that you don't have that because it was really great. Anyway, this bill adds a new section to RSA 143A:12, which allows homestead food producers to make and sell freeze-dried fruits, vegetables, and processed dairy products if they obtain a homestead food license. This is currently not allowed. They can also sell these freeze-dried food products at their own farm stand, farmers markets, or at retail food stores. This bill supports local businesses, promotes entrepreneurship, and strengthens New Hampshire's agricultural economy while maintaining food safety. It allows for more diversity of offerings of local food products to consumers seeking to eat and buy local. The University of Minnesota Extension, which I have a handout for all of you regarding freeze-dried foods. They have a fact sheet here that states that The freeze drying process was originally developed for medical purposes during World War II and later used for preserving viruses for vaccine research. The technology was then applied to food preservation by NASA to develop meals for the astronauts traveling into space. The technology is used in food manufacturing and processing and is now available for at-home use. You can buy freeze-dried food, machinery to do that. Freeze drying can produce stable, high-quality food that retains its nutritional profile, and this method also maintains the taste and smell of food. Freeze drying dehydrates food by freezing it and then vaporizing the ice crystals. Freeze drying is different from other dehydration techniques such as vacuum drying or convective air drying and should not be confused with these methods of food preservation. Special equipment is required to safely freeze dry food, and freeze dried foods are shelf stable and maintain their taste and smell. So basically, you can take a potentially hazardous food, which can get mold or whatever, and make it a non-potentially hazardous food. It becomes shelf stable. The Homestead Food License, which does not require the producer to have a commercial kitchen, is a reasonable requirement for ensuring that these otherwise potentially hazardous foods can be produced safely and offered to the public. Because freeze drying is a specialized process that requires special equipment to ensure that the food is consistently processed to water activity value that would make the food not potentially hazardous, there is a process review required of the producer. That ensures that the producer is following the proper steps to ensure food safety. There's also a $100.50 fee for licensure. I personally think that this is a wonderful and new way for our agricultural community to bring their berries, fruits, and vegetables to the public. And it's also a really great way for commercially produced ice creams and yogurts to be transformed into delicious snacks. I hope that you will support this bill and help expand the variety of foods that our local food processors can make and bring to the market. It's a pretty simple bill. We're just adding a small section to current law, allowing these products to be produced under the Homestead Food Licensure Law. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Are there questions? Senator McHugh and then Senator Reardon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What sort of food safety standards are required for this equipment if we enact this law? Like, what's to ensure that those food safety standards are met with these particular special?
So there is a process review, and I guess the food safety folks are here who could better answer that question. But under licensure, there's there's an inspection, there's certain other things that are in place as guardrails to make sure that these foods are produced safely for public consumption.
Senator Reardon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for taking my question. Is it prohibited to, in law right now, to sell freeze-dried foods?
Yes.
It is.
As far as I know, yes. They would know insofar as that.
Yeah. Hold the question for DHHS. Okay. Any other questions? Thank you,
Thank
Representative.
you, appreciate it. And I have
Representative Shaw.
copies of my testimony as well.
Okay. Good morning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the Senate Commerce Committee. I am Representative Tom Schamberg of Merrimack 6. I serve on the House Ways and Means Committee, this being my 5th term on that committee. I represent the towns of Wilmette and Sutton. I just want to compliment Chair Aaron of the House Committee Environment and Agricultural Committee and her committee. They have improved the legislation on freeze-dried foods that I presented for two of my constituents that live in Wilmette, Donna and Dave Bates. Representative Aaron, if I may relate just a little quick story. I'm cheerleading for her right now, all right? Representative Aaron served on Ways and Means 4 years ago when a capital request came in for our counties and state fairs and its structures. It was sponsored by 6 reps and 2 state senators for the State Fair Association. The only speaker that day was the director of the New Hampshire County Fair Association. There was not much enthusiasm on the Ways and Means Committee for expending capital improvement money on fairground structures and electrical improvements on 100-year-old plus buildings. From my committee seat, I spoke about how important county fairs are in Ohio, where I came from, in which every county has a fair and a huge state fair. Fairs are economic tools and support local farming, 4-H groups, show improvements in farm crops and produce, and draw in visitors from every community. When it looked like this bill would go down the drain, Representative Aaron spoke about letting her and I have 2 weeks again before presenting another bill to the committee. The capital money bill for fairs got passed not because of me, but because of Chair Aaron's belief in this economic tool of capital investments in New Hampshire fairs. Now this time she saw the economic benefit of this new approach of freeze-dried foods for this state and the local communities of New Hampshire. I hope you will look favorably on what Chair Aaron and her committee have proposed to you all. Thank you.
Any questions for the representative? So I just have to ask you a question that's not really relevant to the bill. Do you remember the Ohio State Fair, the giant cow carved out of butter? I can't remember her name. She was there every year.
I've been away for 25 years
Oh, it's
from
been
there.
more than
Okay.
that for me, but I remember that like, yeah, okay. You're right about the Ohio County Fairs. They're pretty amazing.
And there are 88 counties in Ohio.
Yes, there are 88 of them. I can name almost all. Still. All right, thank you, Representative. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
The Department of Health and Human Services, represented by Colleen Smith and Erica Davis. Please join us. I'm going to find out the name, Representative. I'll let you know. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today on House Bill 505. So a little bit of background. During the House Environment and Agriculture hearing, the department expressed some serious concerns about the original bill for freeze-dried foods. That bill would have amended the definition of potentially hazardous food to state that freeze-dried foods shall not be potentially hazardous. The department did have some serious concerns with this because of the broad range of products that this would allow in the homestead and to be produced without a homestead license. Freeze drying, as Representative Aaron mentioned, is a specialized process whereby the water activity in a product is reduced to render it non-potentially hazardous. This process is not currently allowed in a homestead kitchen. It is, however, allowed at retail in a licensed facility. Currently, the only thing we allow freeze-dried in a homestead kitchen is non-potentially hazardous products like candies, like Skittles or Starburst are allowed in a homestead kitchen. The department worked with Representative Aaron to address the concerns by amending the bill to limit the products to allow freeze-dried vegetables, fruits, and commercially processed dairy products, and by requiring homesteads to be licensed to do this process. So the amended bill language inserts a new subdivision under 143A to allow for licensed homesteads to produce and sell freeze-dried fruits, vegetables, and commercially processed dairy products and sell them from their home, from the owner's farm stand, farmer's market, and retail stores. And so I can address any questions you have.
Okay, are there
and
questions?
I know that you had one regarding
All right, she answered your question.
process review.
Yeah, okay. Any other questions? All right, thank you very much for being here. Appreciate
Thank
it. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on House Bill 505? Seeing none, we'll close the hearing. On 505, 310 is next. lost our assistant again. We're doing okay. We're 20 minutes late. But you're welcome to go. Yeah, okay. Yeah, sure.
Sorry, I figured it would be done and I scheduled it.
No, it's fine. I mean, we're just gonna hear
I
the
know.
next two, so we'll exec them next week with everything else. All right, thank you. Okay. Representative Ammon, would you like to join us, please? I'll open the hearing officially on House Bill 310. Good morning, sir.
Good morning again.
It's like we've made this into a study commission.
This one, yeah,
Yes.
this was, I can go into a little detail. For the record, my name is Keith Ammon. I represent Hillsborough District 42. And two disclaimers, I do own digital assets and I'm the chair of the New Hampshire Blockchain Council. It's a newly formed group, volunteer nonprofit. So the next two bills are related. I'll try to give you an overview of the two. They're both dealing with blockchain and digital asset technology, which in my opinion is going to be the underpinnings of potentially the world financial system. It's that big of a deal. House Bill 310 deals with three emerging concepts. The first one is stable tokens. Stable tokens are currently the 16th largest purchaser of US treasuries. So China, Japan, some other countries, and a stable token. So a stable token is a digital token that represents ownership over a US dollar denominated, generally US dollar denominated asset reserve. So it can be cash in the bank, US treasuries, anything that is related to US dollars, and the value of the token is pegged 1-to-1 to a US dollar. So if MasterCard is looking at rolling stable tokens into their network, and I'm happy to talk more about that, but I'll leave it at that. Real world asset tokenization is a similar concept, except the assets could be other things besides US dollars. They could be gold bars in a vault. They could be paintings, in a climate controlled storage facility, lots of other things like that. And then the final aspect is a new concept. We'll be the only state, I think, looking into this, is creating a form of trust that's blockchain based. And we have language for that concept. It was originally in the next bill, 639, but we moved it over into the study commission because we think it's going to take a little more time to bake. But that would be, we know that New Hampshire is one of the top destinations for establishing trusts. And if we can establish rules, it could be an innovative new product to attract capital to the state. So it's a straightforward study commission. I will note that Wyoming has a similar one. It's called the Wyoming Stable Token Commission. That's ongoing. They've done a lot of progress that we'll probably look at during this commission. And the governor of Wyoming is the chair of that Stable Token Commission. So it's treated pretty significantly in the state of Wyoming. If you see a need to change the membership of the study commission, I'd be happy with something like that. But this is one of those issues. There's things moving at the federal level right now. There's something called the Genius Act and something called the Stable Act in the federal government that are coming to fruition. And this is one of those issues that's going to require getting some big brains in a room together to figure out what New Hampshire's approach should be. One, to attract innovators and capital to the state, and two, to protect our consumers, to make sure that we keep out the bad actors and invite the good ones. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
All right, are there questions for the representative? All right, seeing none, thank you. Appreciate your testimony and the introduction. Mr. Paul Fiondella would like to speak. Good morning. Could you turn on your microphone, please, and restate your name and location? Yes, thank you.
Paul Fiondella, Stoddard, New Hampshire. I have about 52 years of experience in the computer industry, both as a developer and an investor. I've looked over this bill, and it seems to me that it has a number of defects, and that's why I can't support it. First of all, stable coin, which has been discussed here, is not stable, okay? It's an attempt to back the virtual currencies that are being created in cryptocurrency markets with something that is liquid, so that you can go from the cryptocurrency to some known form of liquid asset. To give you an example of how unstable it actually is, okay, you've probably heard of Silicon Valley Bank. Now, Silicon Valley Bank took its investors' capital and it put the money into treasuries. But unfortunately, it bought the treasuries at the wrong time. And as the treasury value moved against it, it started to run out of money to back all of the various commitments it had to people who had deposited dollars into that bank. One of the entities that took its stable coin, US dollars, and put it into that bank was USDC. It had $3.3 billion in cash at the Silicon Valley Bank with a commitment that one coin would always be worth $1. So what happened when SVB failed, the coin peg had to be reduced. So they moved the peg down from $1 backing one of their coins to 87 cents. And then after a certain period of collapse, they then stopped allowing any conversion at all. So stablecoin value is based on convertibility. And once convertibility is lost, so is the value of the so-called stablecoin. What you found in the last few years is a lot of these cryptocurrency companies are taking other cryptocurrencies and using them to back their coin. So this is kind of like a very risky situation for investors. With regard to 310, there's no representative cited in section 2 on this appointed committee. And it seems to me, since the biggest environmental problem is energy use, you need to have at least one representative from the environmental community with expertise in renewable energy generation. You're probably going to hear a lot of testimony today telling you that this is the biggest real world problem, environmental problem with regard to cryptocurrency. They use enormous amounts of energy, and that energy has to come from somewhere. So I think you have to reconsider this bill, amend it, and look at some of the problems that you're going to encounter if you pass legislation that enables cryptocurrency to be mined or regulated in the state. And make sure that you do address all of these issues, the environmental issues. I think the only way to do that is you're going to have to increase the membership of this committee that you want to establish to put some experts on there with that type of background, environmental background.
Okay.
So I thank you.
All right. Any questions? All right, seeing none, thank you for your testimony, sir. All right, is there anyone else who would like to speak on House Bill 310? Seeing none, we'll close the hearing on 310. Move to 639 next. All right. All right, I'm going to bring on House Bill 639. We have 11 speakers signed up for this one. I'm going to put everyone 3 minutes, nothing more, or we won't get it done. We have a hard stop at noon. I'm sorry to have to do that, but that is where we are. So I'm going to welcome Representative Van. Please come back.
Thank you again. For the record, my name is Keith Ammon, Hillsborough 42. Disclaimers: I own digital assets, chair of the New Hampshire Blockchain Council, nonprofit volunteer. Here to introduce House Bill 639, This bill went through two committees in the House, House Commerce and House Finance. It was amended in House Commerce. I mentioned the blockchain based trust was taken out and moved to the Study Commission on 310. This bill establishes the different sections of the bill, sort of catches New Hampshire up to where other states are going with digital assets. And I'll just give a very brief flyover through the bill. I know I only have 3 minutes. So we have a purpose and findings section. There are some sections of this bill that came out of the Governor Sununu's Commission on Digital Assets and Cryptocurrency, specifically the blockchain dispute docket, which I'll get to. Just moving on to definitions, it adds some definitions that we need in statute. There's quite a few there. And by looking at the definitions, you can see if you had a court case, you'd want a judge that understood those definitions so that, and other related concepts so that you get a fair trial. Page 3, line 7, it prevents a prohibition against using digital assets. So it prevents a prohibition. I'll just say that again. Line 14, I think this section has most of the opposition out. There's some folks that believe Bitcoin mining is going to raise the oceans, or we're all going to drown, or we're going to boil the seas, or something like that. All this section does is prevents municipalities from discriminating against the energy use. It's discriminatory language. Why do we need that? Our close neighbor, the state of New York, did a whole moratorium based on misinformation about energy use. So we want to send to the industry that we understand you use energy, computers use energy. If you unplug a computer, it doesn't work. So computers require energy. But that we won't discriminate against you. We won't target your industry. You'll have to obey by the same rules as every other industry. Moving on to line 21. It talks about noise ordinances. There is some issues with noise depending on how these mining operations operate. And I'll just say the energy costs in New Hampshire are so high that this really isn't an issue currently. But the benefit for projecting that we're friendly to mining is that it can help incentivize future generations. So we want to get out of this scarcity mindset that there's only a fixed pie, only so much energy to go around. If the market incentivizes new generation of energy, and Bitcoin mining and other digital asset minings can help do that, and there's a whole conversation to be had around that. And also facilitate intermittent energy on the grid, like wind and solar. It can also help utilize those intermittent electrons. That's the reason that there's a future benefit to doing that. Okay. I think my time might almost be up. I'm almost done.
It is, but it's your bill, so we can give you just a few seconds more.
I guess there's other things in here I won't go over. They're somewhat self-explanatory. The blockchain basic dispute docket, it's basically enabling for the court. It's not, so the dispute docket is, the language is based off the business dispute docket that's currently in place. So the short version is one judge will be chosen to be the blockchain dispute docket judge based on their technical ability. And that as the docket receives business, we passed the new corporate entity type last year called a DAO. That's all blockchain based. So we envision that there's going to be some disputes in the wider economy over this issue, that there's a judge that has expertise and can swiftly handle those cases. And the fees from those cases will pay for the docket. So that's the idea. And that judge can do other things. They're not just, dedicated to that docket. And then my last thing, when this bill went through House Finance, the Secretary of State's office was not able to come to Commerce to raise a concern, but they did in House Finance. So we had a gentleman's agreement that we'd work out language. I sent that yesterday afternoon to the committee, and I think the Secretary of State's office is going to address it. There's something called staking. So staking is another kind of consensus mechanism that doesn't require as much energy. And some states were suing companies like Coinbase saying that staking was a securities offering. And they've since had to cancel all those lawsuits because it turns out staking is not a securities offering. And so our language that we worked with the Secretary of State's office says that staking is not a securities offering, but if you're fraudulent, if you're saying you're staking and you're not, and you're stealing people's assets, then the Secretary of State's office is able to go after the fraudsters. So
Okay.
that's a really high level,
Yeah.
quick tour. Okay, thank you very much.
That's great. Thank you.
Questions?
Questions for the representative? Senator Ricciardi.
Thank you for taking my question. I've heard from a lot of people, and I don't know if every concern has been addressed, but some of them is that these computers use 24/7 super amounts of electricity, and that would be putting, the demand higher than it would for hospitals or anyone else. And you did say the noise, but I've heard a lot of people complain about the noise. And given the different comments, my question really is, would you consider this going in the study committee? Because it's a very complicated issue and we need to make sure we're making, solid decisions.
I would be against that. We dealt with the energy use on the Governor's Commission. If you read the report of the Governor's Commission, we addressed all these concerns. I think they're overblown. I think, I don't know if you remember the dispute between Thomas Edison and Nikola Tesla. Edison wanted to make AC current look dangerous, so he was electrocuting stray dogs. They electrocuted an elephant in Coney Island in like 1903 or something like that. There are competing interests inciting these environmentalist groups to oppose. And I'll give you an example. There's a somewhat blockchain related company called Ripple that hired an artist, paid Greenpeace millions of dollars to hire an artist to make Bitcoin energy use look bad. So that's like the Thomas Edison, Nikola Tesla feud. And some of this information coming from the opposition, they don't realize that they're inadvertently, supporting one side over the other. I don't see it as an issue. I think it's overblown. So I could talk more offline if you want.
All right. Thank you, Representative. Appreciate it. We have two representatives from the Bureau of Securities Regulation. I don't know if you want to come up together. All right, great. Katie Taylor and Eric Fournier. Did I get, yes. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Katie Taylor. This is Eric Forster. He's the director of the Bureau of Securities Regulation. We're here today to speak in opposition of the language as it was amended by the House. Particularly, our concern is with respect to the language in 359-V:4, Roman 4, and that reads, a business offering to provide digital asset mining or staking services for individuals or to other businesses shall not be considered as offering a security for investment or investment contract under RSA 421B, which is the Securities Act. The concern there, from the Bureau's perspective, is that would prohibit the Bureau's ability to protect New Hampshire investors. And this is not an area, so digital asset mining and digital asset staking is not an area that is of first impression to the Bureau. We have received complaints for both of those areas. We have investigated complaints on both of those areas. One that Eric at the House Committee testified to was actually a digital asset mining investigation that we had. We brought an administrative enforcement action related to that complaint. And essentially what had happened was some gentlemen met together at a golf course. One individual was engaged in digital asset mining at their home, and they purported that he was good at doing this business. He was adept. He had good knowledge on it. And if the investors were able to provide money, then they would be able to buy more machines, do more mining, and turn a profit. There were misrepresentations in connection to that offering of a security. Money was squandered, and it was about $250,000. The Bureau was able to pursue that under 421B to protect those investors, and that's the concern we express here today. We did discuss and work closely with Representative Ammon with respect to an amendment to this to address our concerns. I believe you have a copy of that amendment in front of you today. So real quickly, we believe that the language, which I'll go through in a second, truly balances our need to protect New Hampshire investors with the need to facilitate responsible capital formation in this area. So the first part of that amendment that the Bureau worked on, and it's a limited portion of the whole amendment. It starts on page 2. It is 359-V:1, Roman 5, to have a new defined term of digital asset exchange, because we do use it later. And then on page 4 is where the rubber hits the road, and that is 359-V:4, Romans 4 and 5. Now, just quickly stating, Roman 4 is pretty self-explanatory. It allows that example I gave you of that individual in their basement engaging in digital asset mining, or with their own funds engaging in the act of staking. Roman 5 has or permits a digital asset exchange, the defined term we added, offering staking as a service, not to be an offer or sale of a security, with certain safeguards. The first being that the digital asset exchange maintains control of the digital assets that have been staked, and the second being that the person that owns those digital assets, that are staking those digital assets, maintains control of those digital assets. And then finally, the last sentence there just promotes that the Bureau maintains the ability to protect New Hampshire investors against bad actors in the space if they're falsely claiming to provide these services, but indeed are not.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions? See none. Appreciate your testimony.
Thank you.
All right. Catherine Corkery from the Sierra Club. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you.
All right. Okay, 3 minutes. Thank you. If you could turn your microphone on, please. I know.
Can I start over? Does the clock start?
It'll make Aaron happier, and I'll give you an extra 12 seconds.
Thank you. My name is Catherine Corkery. I am the chapter director for New Hampshire Sierra Club. We represent 11,000 members and supporters in the state. We oppose this bill and ask that you ITL it as written, as it came to you. There's a lot of instability in this industry, and that means that there are a lot of avoidable risks for New Hampshire and the state. And that is a big reason why we oppose the bill. The challenges of the bill are varied. It lacks guardrails for environmental impacts. It creates confusion, and it ushers in the erasure of the authority of the state on state, local, and political subdivision levels. All of this to protect and promote a single industry rather than representing the people of the state. So, firstly, the environmental impacts. It has been represented that there is concern about climate impacts, and that is true. But I do want to emphasize that the energy demand is exponential, that the energy required for these facilities are these supercomputers, as well as the temperature control for the climate control for the facilities themselves. And it is important to remember it's the energy that creates the asset. So there's that. And then the confusion. There is a lot about Bitcoin that's moving, that's very dynamic, and towns and communities are not ready for that. And thirdly, the guardrails. I want to take your eyes to line 29 in particular. It is most alarming because it does erase the authority of the community and the state by saying they shall not, no state or local government agency shall prohibit any person or business from operating. We've seen this bill across the country. Damn it.
It's fast.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
it is fast.
Okay, so maybe I could help you summarize here. Is the Sierra Club's primary objection the energy usage?
It is the energy use, but it's also, we have a government of laws, and the state and these communities have the authority to regulate what comes into their community. And this industry, this enterprise gets special attention in lots of ways. And we heard it especially in the FN, which was pretty alarming. And I'm really glad to see the SOS here.
Okay, thank you. Questions? All right, I do
Okay.
appreciate your testimony.
Thank
I'm sorry
you.
to cut you off. We just
Yeah. I do want to point out, I gave all of the members this report, and I hope.
And we spoke on the phone. as
Yes,
well. So, yes, thank
and
you.
anything that I can follow up on, I'm happy to.
All right, thank you very much. Kennard Solian is here too. All right, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Ken Solon. I live in Londonderry. And myself and my friends and neighbors, we like to think of ourselves as stewards of the environment. It's not just for us, but for future generations. The previous speakers have covered a number of points, but so I'll try to make mine brief. One crypto mining transaction requires an enormous amount of electricity. It's something in the neighborhood of like 1,200 kilowatts per hour. That's kilowatt hours. That's enough to power a home for 50 days. Currently in New Hampshire, our power generation is 55% from nuclear, 19% from natural gas. We have a small amount of coal, 6%, and 16% is renewable. So as this HB 639 is written, how will those installations of these large energy demanding facilities affect residential and small business electric rates? Currently, New Hampshire is paying among the nation's highest in electrical rates from a residential and commercial use as compared to the rest of the country. Will the citizens of New Hampshire subsidize these blockchain facilities by having our rates increased? And I also wanted to point out that these facilities are not clean industries, even though it looks on the surface like you have a number of servers and computers sitting in a clean room. They're really not clean industries based on the electrical demand of what you're really doing is converting natural gas or other fossil fuels into electricity. And overall, what is the benefit to the citizens of New Hampshire?
All right, are there any questions for the representative? All right, thank you, or not representative, for the, yes, thank you. All right, and you beat time, I appreciate that. All right, Pat Stevens, please.
Good morning, Chairman and members of the committee. Thank you for having me. My name is Pat Stevens from Derry, New Hampshire, and I'm here to talk about the noise that happens from a crypto mining facility. My family lives in North Tonawanda, New York, where there is a large facility. There are 31,000 people in that city, and they 4 years ago had the start of a crypto mining facility, and are really very upset that they agreed to the whole thing because they felt like they were just pushed into it and they didn't know enough about it. And the whole thing is people talk about cryptocurrency currency and Bitcoin, but they have no idea what's involved in the mining per se. So I just want to let you know what this sounds like a mile to a mile and a half and even further away from the noise from that machine or that facility.
Maybe.
Okay. Don't tell me.
All right.
Let me try this one.
So what is it that's generating?
It's the facility itself. It's the combination of the computers and the fans.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, I can't even show you how through the microphone what it sounds like. But this is what it sounds like in their yards outside. They can't stand it. They go in the house, and sometimes with the windows closed, they can't stand it.
Okay.
But anyway, that's one of the issues. And North Tonawanda is willing to share all the things that they went through and all of their suggestions for people who are thinking of starting this kind of a business. So I would recommend that you look into what they have to say.
Okay.
So
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Any questions?
Any questions? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Appreciate it. All right. Next up is Lena Nurk. Okay. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is
We're bumping
Lena.
up toward afternoon.
My name is Lena Nurk, and I live in Guilford, New Hampshire. I'm testifying in opposition to HB 639. On the first page of the bill, section Roman numeral 3B, it states that the intention of the bill is establishing a leading role for New Hampshire in fostering the blockchain industry and developing a legal regime protecting blockchain technology. I oppose this bill based on the experience of other states that have adopted similar legislation that was intended to attract investment but had unintended consequences that severely impacted local communities. Arkansas adopted similar legislation in 2023, and local communities began to complain about the extreme noise pollution at these data mining centers that run 24/7. Daily life and business operations were disrupted, and housing values plummeted as residents realized they were unable to sell their homes to escape the noise. In Pennsylvania, a farmer near a data mining center reported health issues with livestock as a result of the incessant noise. Local infrastructure was stressed by massive energy and water needs, and the jobs that were promised never materialized because these centers are operated remotely. Arkansas passed new legislation restoring local control to municipalities and counties in less than a year. I also wanted to draw your attention to the language in the fiscal note that says blockchain dispute docket, or it's establishing a blockchain dispute docket to oversee blockchain-related disputes. The Department of State indicates this bill would limit the Bureau of Securities Authority, which in part of the Secretary of State's office. Specifically, it would prevent the Bureau from regulating digital asset mining or staking services, which would no longer be classified as securities or investment contracts under RSA 421B. The Bureau would lose its power to seek restitution for New Hampshire investors or collect fines and penalties related to these services. This regulatory authority wouldn't be transferred to another law enforcement body in New Hampshire. I believe this has serious implications for consumer protection in New Hampshire. New Hampshire should not repeat the costly missteps of other states. Our state is known for our beautiful environment, and we depend on tourism. HB 39 aspires to protect the disruptive crypto industry from local control. But what we really need is a bill that protects our local communities from this high-risk industry. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? All right, appreciate it very much. Right on 3 minutes. Okay, next up we have Lee Oxenham. Good morning.
Am I on?
You are on.
Excellent. Thank you for hearing my testimony. As you suggested, my name is Lee Oxenham. I'm resident of Plainfield, longtime clean water advocate and four-term member of the New Hampshire House of Representatives, where I served on Resources and STE. And please note that neither of those committees were able to review this prior to this bill coming into your hands. One of the many negative features associated with the cryptocurrency industry and its mining operations in particular is the enormous usage and wastage of water. First, as a result of the demands for cooling the operations, and secondarily because of the scale of the energy use. Large quantities of water are needed first to just cool the computers. In addition, the coal and gas-fired power plants that generate the electricity also use water to cool their production. As part of my testimony, I'm submitting a peer-reviewed article by Alex DeVries published in the journal Cell Reports Sustainability. This tabulates the water consumption in the Bitcoin industry and warns that Bitcoin mining, with its ever-escalating annual increases in water usage, threatens the needs of other, far more productive industrial uses and can indeed endanger our drinking water supplies. Thirdly, Bitcoin mining plants often discharge the now heated wastewater back into local water supplies, raising temperatures in lakes and rivers. This thermal pollution endangers public health, as well as wildlife habitability, including but not limited to potential harmful algal blooms, fish death, biodiversity loss, direct thermal shock, and changes in dissolved oxygen levels. All of this is exacerbated by the presence of trace elements of arsenic and magnesium. In other situations, that water has to be treated by water treatment plants. This raises the need for upgrading our water treatment plants, and that cost is going to be imposed on local communities, property taxes, and water rates. In the United States, Bitcoin mining consumes about 100 gigaliters of water every year. That's 1 billion liters, gigaliters, equivalent to the water consumption of 300,000 households. Each transaction, not just the mining, but each transaction on the Bitcoin blockchain uses 16,000 liters of water on average. Please remember, the U.S. Drought Monitor has said, and DES has told us, New Hampshire is currently experiencing drought conditions. As of April 22nd, approximately 21% of the state is under drought conditions, and 51% is classified as abnormally dry. Just think how much of our economy circulates around our lakes and rivers, and how vital it is that we protect them. To conclude, HB 639 would tie the hands of our towns and cities in advance of their discovering the manifold costs associated with this industry. Our families, our communities, and our wildlife share this splendid state with us, and they deserve better. They merit protection and respect. New Hampshire's residents and our economy will not benefit from carving out special exemptions for this industry. It's all costs and no benefits. Please ITL this bill.
Thank you for your testimony. Are there any questions? Thank you. Leslie Woodward. Welcome.
Good morning. Can you hear me? Oh,
yes, of course.
You can. My name is Leslie Woodard, and I'm from Londonderry. I vehemently oppose HB 639 as it goes too far, too fast, and strips away state and local sovereignty, protecting the industry rather than the people. This is not how we do things here in New Hampshire. There are also many environmental concerns with these cryptocurrency mines. Cryptocurrency mines have proven to produce torturous noise pollution 24/7, 365 days a year, even miles away from the home, as we heard. I'm a New Hampshire citizen who loves to sit out in my backyard enjoying the singing of the birds and the quiet. A mine would change all that. Also, I have a condition which makes me very sensitive to noises such as generators and airplanes, which is what these mines sound like. It literally feels like hundreds of small pins sticking into my skin when we must use our generator or I'm at an airport. Having a mine nearby would literally be excruciatingly painful for me and others like me. In Arkansas, residents are complaining about this noise. Gladys Anderson of Bono, Arkansas says it was like torture, like a form of military-grade torture. Her neighbor, Shane Markison, said, it's caused problems for me with my hearing, my blood pressure, with the sweetheart where she gets migraine headaches. They can't even sell their homes due to the noise pollution as no one will buy them. Also, community members and lawmakers in Arkansas have voiced concerns about national security risks associated with foreign ownership of cryptocurrency mines. On the environmental side, noise pollution is environmental, but with our water and our electricity, they consume so much water. In the US, crypto mining yearly consumes the equivalent of 300,000 US households or a city like Washington, DC. Mines also have impacts such as fish die-offs, algal blooms, among other well-documented wildlife and human impacts from the heated wastewater. These facilities also have an extremely heavy electricity demand, as we have heard. It has been said that crypto mines create many jobs, but this is not the case. A mine in Rockdale, Texas promised to create over 300 jobs, but actually created only 14 jobs and then scaled back even further. For these reasons and many more, I urge you to oppose HB 639. Thank you.
It's almost as if you rehearsed that 3 minutes. Are there
I
any
did.
questions?
I timed it.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Paul Fiandella. And I believe Mr. Fiandella is our last speaker. Welcome back.
Hi. I want to thank you for listening to me again.
Well, for 3 minutes at least.
For 3 minutes. The some of the issues that are being addressed environmentally here really require expertise. And as you know, I testified in the previous bill that you've got to get that expertise into this scenario. I don't believe this bill that is before you is ready for prime time. It needs to be looked at seriously. And I know that a lot of people sort of like poo-poo the idea that there are environmental considerations here. But, you know, and I myself, when I look for facts, try to find reputable sources. On March 26th, the Chan School of Public Health published that's Harvard, published a peer-reviewed paper in Nature. I would say that's a pretty reliable source of factual information. And what they were trying to do is assess the level of air pollution that's associated directly with crypto mining. So in a period of 11 months, what they did is they studied the 34 largest Bitcoin, that's a particular cryptocurrency, mines in the United States. And what they discovered was that those 34 mines used the power supplied by 635 power plants all over the United States, pumped into those various plants. And they used 33% more energy than the city of Los Angeles. So to give you a quantitative number, that's 32.3 terawatts of power, 85% of which they discovered came from fossil fuels. So they wanted to know, okay, if all this power is being used, where's it coming from? What's its effect on humans? And what they discovered is that the particles, the small particles generated by the fossil fuel plants, would affect approximately 1.9 million people. So you will be breathing that in. So there are many environmental concerns here that we just need to be reviewed, and we need to get to the facts. I want to mention one other thing, which is the financial dangers. If you pass this bill now, senior citizens like myself are going to think, hey, cryptocurrency, that's a great thing. I think I'll take my money that's in a CD and move it into this currency. Look at how much money Bob made, who wants to sell me the currency. Now, there have been so many of these tokens that have gone to zero over the last 3 years, with some of the offerers going to prison for 25 years. How are you going to feel if, you know, somebody's grandfather puts their life savings into this currency, cryptocurrency, and it goes to zero? They're going to call you up and scream, help me, do something. And what is the recourse going to be? So in conclusion, the purpose of regulation is to reduce risk. This bill doesn't reduce risk. It leaves wide open all kinds of areas where the public will suffer one way or another, either in terms of health or in terms of finances. So that's why I think you need to shelve the bill, get rid of it, and go back to the study, as I previously testified. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none. Brady DeShay, you're our last speaker. You have 3 minutes. Yeah? Yeah, you signed up, right? Oh, all right. You just signed up. All right. Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on House Bill 639? All right. Seeing none, I'll close the hearing on House Bill 639 and entertain a motion to adjourn. All right. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Great. We are adjourned.
Yeah, Sir Partner on your belly, so they might exact it.